I think what all of us thought about was, why are we doing this? What are we doing? And how are we going to do it? So today we're in an example of a how, right? So one of the ways that we do this work is we convene so that we can learn from each other. The what, for me, is around 3 pieces of work. So one is trying to decrease the number of kids who need developmental work as they leave high school and enter community college. A second would be, if you are in developmental coursework, to speed that process up. And the third is that we get as many kids successful in college algebra in their introductory English class as possible, because we know those gatekeeper courses are crucial to all kids being successful. So that's the what for me. But most importantly, after Richard's presentation, I started to think about the why. Why do we do this? And the reason is, we want all of our young people to have successful lives, right? Because if you don't know the people who are in your system, somebody that you do know that's in the system knows that kid and that young person. So I just kind of wanted to kind of lay that out, because we're kind of coming to the end of phase 1 of this project, and we're trying to think, along with the community college presidents, the superintendents, well, you know, actually everybody in the room is probably thinking about, so what's next? And I think that if we can keep in mind the why of the project, I mean, it's an important project, but the project really gains a lot of strength if you just start taking a look at young people that you know. And I guess this is what my first question to the panel is going to be, and that is this connection of educational preparation and good jobs, right? So we have an esteemed panel, and actually we have a pipeline right in front of you, right? So we have an ISD representative, we have a community college represented, and we have the workforce through the Greater Houston Partnership represented. So everybody knows Richard. Richard just presented a great talk. I really appreciate that, Richard. But I'd like Pam and Elaine and Charles, maybe Pam, Charles, and Elaine, to introduce yourselves. And then I'd just like, well, first introduce yourselves, and then let's go back to Pam and talk about reactions from your particular view of the world. And then I'm going to ask Richard to kind of respond back to what your reactions sound like. So Pam, introduce yourself.
Yes, Pamela Butler. I'm Executive Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning in Spring Branch ISD. I'm a former elementary principal and a former principal of 612 school. And I've been with Spring Branch for 25 years, and I'm here instead of our superintendent, that I'm really honored to be here. So you want me to react?
No.
Now? Okay.
Now let's go to Charles.
Good morning, I'm Charles Cook, Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs for Houston Community College, and a partner with Spring Branch Independent School District.
Okay, Elaine.
Good morning. I'm Elaine Barber. I'm Vice President of Education and Workforce Initiatives at the Greater Houston Partnership. And the Greater Houston Partnership is a business organization that has 3 component major parts of it: business and industry, better understood as a chamber of commerce, economic development, and World Trade
Yes,
investments.
I also really enjoyed Richard's presentation and thought he hit on so many of the critically important points that relate to this area. The specific part of his presentation that resonated very high for me was the employers saying soft skills were critically important. Soft skills, years ago we used to call it employability skills. Those critical areas that, separate and apart from the technical skills, really keep that individual in that position. As the presentation presented, you can get through the door with the technical skills to get the job, but soft skills is what keeps them in the door. Knowing how to work in a team, the critical thinking skills, knowing that if you get paid on Friday, you can't take off on Monday, calling up if you're going to be late, calling up if you're going to be out sick, and all of those things that we take for granted has to be understood that they're critically important. We talked also in the presentation also talked about that middle skills area. And the Greater Houston Partnership about a year ago determined that the middle skills gap was very real in our region. That is, positions that do not necessarily require a 4-year degree, but a minimum of certificate program, post-high school, generally in the community college setting, some technical skills training that's needed to be able to get into those positions. Employers have said to us that for them, that's where the greatest challenges are. And you saw what the numbers are in terms of how much individuals can make immediately upon getting their certificates in those particular areas. A process technologist in our region with overtime can make anywhere from $90,000 to $95,000 a year in that particular area. And it goes on and on, CNC operators. But I'm quick to say that for those positions, you generally need to have some skill area in the math and reading area so that when you go into the community college, there's a good probability of success. Sadly, a major part of what we're finding is that many students graduate from high school, do not have the necessary academic abilities to be able to go into the community college right away and get into these programs. They have to take some remediation. And that's a concern for the business community because, as you know, once students have to go through that, the probability of them dropping out is much greater because they lose interest, their interest wane, they may get married, have children, and have to make a certain wage. And that's the reason why in the community college, the average age for most students is 27. And that's because many of them have gone through the series of stages of careers before they actually buckle down and say, it's important to me that I pursue this area. So for us, the middle skills area, and also because so many individuals within our community are now retiring, the middle skills area becomes critically important. And as you look at the important areas, you will determine that that's clearly where the greatest needs are in our community.
Richard?
I think it's on.
That's good. Hello? Okay, good. Thank you all very much. And again, an honor and had a lot of fun this morning, so I thank you very much. One thing I wanted to add to all of these comments, what I think were all very good, is that I didn't spend a lot of time talking about the healthcare area in this community, which is obviously very large and a very significant foundation. And the reason it doesn't show up is because of all of the adjustments, the economic adjustments, the staffing adjustments that are going on in your large medical facilities around the federal Affordable Care Act, and all the adjustments that are going on in terms of how many of these am I going to need, how many of these kind of professions am I going to need going forward, how many am I going to be able to afford going forward, what will my new reimbursement schedule look like, and what does my structure have to look like, how many of these, how many of my folks will be coming into hospitals, and how many will be going to ambulatory care outside of hospitals. So that healthcare area is seriously in flux. And what you see in the data is in 2013, 2014, there are some staffing adjustments that are going on. So the numbers don't show the level of demand that's really out there. Well, we believe starting in 2015, 2016, 2017, that those adjustments will be made, and there will be a significant demand for skilled healthcare professionals. It's not showing up in the data today because of the significant adjustment, economic adjustment that's going on. But as you, especially in this area, as you start getting into 2015, 16, 17, that's an area that you'll see. So just because it didn't show up significantly in my data today, it's part of why we tell the story and we don't look at just one data source, is this adjustment period won't last forever, and I think you're going to see that as a significant demand area. So it was not an omission by my part. I want to make sure that gets played out as being an important part of what we do going forward.
Thanks for that, yeah. So we're going to try to make up some time because we've got a break scheduled at 10:30. We might go just a bit over, but because we're trying to make up time, so I used to be a high school principal, and Charles Cook came to me one day, maybe it was Zach Hodges, one of them came to me and they said, hey, we've got this really neat idea for something called a student success course. You can give it to your seniors. They can work on things like math and literacy to get them better prepared for college. Do you want to do it? And I said, no. How stupid was I? Right? Because how long ago was that? Like 10 years ago, right? So now, like 10 years, I was listening to George last night, that student success, courses are like the rave of everything. And so I turned it down 10 years ago, but A-Leaf and Spring Branch have signed a very unique, very creative piece with HCC. Pam and Charles, you want to talk about it?
Sure, happy to. So right after the legislation was finally passed and the law requires these two courses, that ISDs work with community college partners to develop these two courses to ensure that students in those courses do not have to take the remedial. If they pass everything, they don't have to take the remedial courses once they get to HCC. Well, interestingly enough, I was very involved with our West Houston P16 Council, and we had a committee already sort of working on something like that, and A-Leaf sits on there in Spring Branch, and sometimes Katie and Houston. And so we had a meeting. Our superintendent, Duncan Klusman, and the A-Leaf superintendent, H.D. Chambers, had been very involved in getting House Bill 5 passed and helping with that, all that was written into the law. And we had a meeting with Spring Branch ISD people and A-Leaf people, and Zach was there. And we started talking about these two courses. Where do we even start? And then we had a light bulb go off and say, wait a minute, we're already doing something with P16. And so we took the people in the P16 Council and then just expanded it to other districts. There were other districts that came on board, and it was two of my staff members headed up one each of those committees to work on the math and the language arts course. And I step in and check on them, and it was just amazing the work that was going on with these community college teachers and our ISD teachers and the collaboration. And we feel like we've really built some great friendships and bridges and a collective commitment to helping our kids do well. And we're really thrilled about it. You want to?
Yeah, and I want to point out, Scott, there are really two kinds of courses here. The courses that Pam is referencing and that we've been working on with all of our ISD partners are mirroring our exit level developmental ed courses. So what we are creating are high school courses that can be offered for fourth year students in both math as well as language arts to prepare them to become college ready in reading, writing, and math. Complementary to that are our student success courses. The basic one we offer is called Education 1300, and that's a college level course that can be taught for dual credit, and I strongly advise that it be taught in partnership with the developmental ed high school courses. It's a very rich course, learning framework. It talks about learning theories, learning strategies. We have a lot of students who know they need to go to college, but they don't really understand why or how. Right. And so it exposes that we do a lot of career exploration. We help them know about the jobs that are out there, the programs that we offer to prepare them for those jobs, and it eases that transition from high school to college. We have 10 years worth of data showing that it has made a tremendous difference. I'm looking at people like Leslie Comfort and Maria Strauss and others out in the audience. We were just in Santa Fe at a high impact practices where this is being touted to community colleges around the nation. And our Gulf Coast colleges have really, I think, championed this innovation more so than anybody. And it's a wonderful thing for students. So I encourage you to talk to your community college partner. We all have versions of these student success courses. We have the data showing how successful they are. Together with the House Bill 5 courses, I'll call them, what a terrific combination.
Yeah, it's a great portfolio, right? In terms of support. So the message, one of the messages that I want everyone to carry away from this session is don't be stupid like me, right? And turn down this opportunity. This whole relationship through Gulf Coast Pass, I think, we've got 8 community college systems. I know other community college systems are working with their ISD partners on the same work. Because how many have seniors or have had seniors in high school, right? How busy are seniors? Not very busy, right? So I have a senior, right? He's not very busy. Let's get him busy working on grade 13 work, right? All right. So I had a really good friend at another event come up to me and say, before I ran a panel, they said, don't play like the Grim Reaper and go negative, on your questions, right? So I'm trying to practice, right? Not to be, Mr. Negative. So, moving forward, we talk about House Bill 5, and we've had some talk around how House Bill 5 work can sort of incorporate into the Gulf Coast Pass platform. To a person, talk a little bit about why you, from your perspective, ISD, workforce, community college, partnership, are hopeful that this is going to be better for Texas than possibly what the 4x4 was. And if you don't think it's going to be, then say so, and I'll give you the Grim Reaper. Okay.
Sure. So I'll start from the business community. We are very excited about HB 5. First of all, the partnership was also at the table, and during the legislative session last 2013, we were very much in favor of HB 5. So we're excited about the opportunities that loom larger than life in terms of how it's going to roll out. What we consider to be critically great about the legislation and ultimately how the law is going to be enacted is the partnerships that will invariably come as it relates to business, industry, schools, all of the partnerships that will come as it relates to that because of the various endorsements that are set out in HB 5. On the table outside, when you have an opportunity during the break, I brought enough copies for everyone. There's an article that was a year and a half ago in the Harvard Business Review, Who Can Fix the Middle Skills Gap? Great article because it speaks to some of the issues that relate to the middle skills gap. But a very important part of the article speaks to the importance of partnerships. It doesn't work if business and industry and education and all of the various sectors, wraparound service agencies that provide social service agencies work together. One point that I want to make that I'd like to say about all of this is it's really going to be very important for parents to embrace and understand the long-term positive implications of HB 5. We find when we talk to students that many of them say, you know what, Ms. Barber, I really am interested in getting into plumbing or welding or whatever, but my mom and dad say I am going to college. I'm going to get a 4-year degree. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. What we need, though, is a better education process for parents so that they understand long-term the benefits of some of these areas as well.
Okay, as I said earlier, we're very excited in Spring Branch about House Bill 5, and just I could go on and on, but a few things that to answer your question. I think we won't lose as many kids as we may have lost with the 4x4. I mentioned I was a former principal of the 612 school, and its focus was on everybody going to college. We didn't offer a lot of CTE, but everybody was going to college. And I'm friends with a lot of my former students on Facebook. We keep in touch. They're now in the workforce, getting married, having children, whatever. There are students that I mentioned in a talk I do in our district about House Bill 5. There are students that I remember that 2 of them wanted to be, they both wanted to be a chef. And then another 2 that I think about that wanted to go into acting and theater. And we were pushing them, you are going to go to college, and they did graduate on the recommended high school diploma, and that's awesome. I mean, that made them more marketable. They had a skill set, no matter, they had something. They were prepared to go to higher ed. But wouldn't it have been wonderful if, and I think about House Bill 5, the endorsements, if we could have opened up their schedule to offer them opportunities to take courses in their love and passion. As it turns out, one of those students is a chef at the Petroleum Club here in Houston. Another one's a chef in Austin. The other 2 are actors, one in California, one here in Houston. But I think about how awesome would that have been if they could have had more opportunities to take courses in the area that they loved. So I think we're going to hook more students into staying in school and being focused around their true passion and love. And then the other thing is, this is giving us a great opportunity to expand CTE. CTE courses, that is the hands-on, that's where they learn the job skills, and I think this is forcing us, for lack of a better word, to really look at our CTE program, and we're in the process of developing a long-range plan to expand more opportunities for CTE on our high school campuses, as well as our Guthrie Center, which is the technical certification center in our district, and then the partnerships this is affording us. And one last thing, I have gone, and I'm getting ready to leave here and go do my last one, but I have done the House Bill 5 presentation to every secondary faculty in our district, and the elementary principals are asking I do the same, because I think it's critical that every teacher in our system, no matter what they teach, understand House Bill 5 and what is their role in making sure our students are prepared for the workforce. It's our collective responsibility. And so just that's another driver that's happened as a result of House Bill 5.
Well, I totally agree with the comments that both Pam and Elaine have made. I think House Bill 5 is in the best spirit of a democratic educational system. One size does not fit all. And, speaking of the college gateway system, we're finding multiple pathways are good in college as well. College algebra is no longer the sacred cow that it used to be and being prescribed for every student. Increasingly, and we're working with Yuri Treisman, the famed mathematician from the Dana Center at UT Texas, who says that college algebra really is a pathway to calculus and some of the STEM professions. But for a vast majority of other professions, perhaps statistics or quantitative reasoning are valid and appropriate pathways. So we're working on multiple pathways at the college level as well as in high school, and to have these endorsements to allow students to explore their passions, as you said, Pam, while they're in high school, and we can partner with you so they can get on the dual credit pathway earlier, get that industry certificate and associate degree faster. It's going to give them more options.
That's fantastic. I agree 100% with all three of my colleagues. The statistics side, we're not all math, it's algebra, algebra 2. But there are a lot of, and when we start talking about applied mathematics, the discipline that is most prevalent in applied mathematics across more occupation is statistics. And so, that's one of the things that business really looks at and use. All those big data engineers, all those people are doing statistics. And so that's a really important thing. The other thing I want to echo, and I guess I'm just agreeing again with my panel, is that HB5 gives us an opportunity to bring CTE out of the dark ages that it sort of fell into. And we have opportunities and challenges. And so we've got a piece of legislation there. It's set up for us. They teed it up. And now all we have to do is deliver it. But we do have to deliver it, because if we don't, we'll be back in an old 4x4, all size, one size fits all kind of environment. And that's, I don't think, what any of us want. The only other thing I think I'd like to add is that the fact that one size doesn't fit all means that you have the opportunity to structure your CTE endorsements, or your endorsements, including the CTE ones, around your regional labor market. And so I highly encourage you to do that. Elaine mentioned the partnership and speaking to your business community. Continue to have those relationships if you don't. Form new ones if you haven't. Because getting that input and being able to regionalize your endorsements, I think, is in the long-term best interest of your students.
Here's the message. The devil is in the details, right? Around execution of this. But one of the things that we've noticed at A+ is that those details can be figured out by collaborative groups like Gulf Coast Pass, right? So as you go about your day, think about Rich's presentation and the conversation that you just were a part of, and see if anything resonates as you start to collaborate around looking at past work and also thinking about future work. And have a great day. You want to give any instructions? June's going to give some instructions. Let's give the panelists a big round of applause.